G'day guys, Dane here from Clarkie's NRL column. Welcome back to another YouTube video. For today's video, I thought I'll go over every single rumour I've reported on this off-season, which has been a lot. Of course, primarily I don't create these rumours. They do appear from larger media services first, such as Fox Sports, Channel 9, Daily Telegraph, Career Mail, etc. From then, I obviously reach out to particular sources or people within the game, etc., as well as doing a little bit of research before I post it. So I went back through my Instagram, and this off-season I've reported on 76 rumours. 27 of those have been misses, and 49 have been hits. So overall, not the worst strike rate. Obviously, rugby league is a crazy game. But what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go particular dates, guys, but obviously I started at the bottom and made my way up. So it's as of practically when the season finished up until now. So we'll start off with the first rumour. Latrell Mitchell to replace Will Chambers for Australia at centre. That obviously was true. Latrell Mitchell played centre for Australia and looked very good. So that's a hit for me to start off with. Next, GI set to be stripped of captaincy for drink driving. Obviously, GI was named Australian captain, and then drank drove. He came out and said, you know, I'm really sorry for my actions, but I'm not giving up Australian captaincy. But, you know, the rumour was that that's what's set to happen, and essentially that's what occurred. He was stripped. Boyd Cordner went on to captain Australia, so that's another hit. Third one was a little bit of a strange one. Now, I'm not sure on the context of this, whether it was ever the truth or whether it's actually set to occur at a later date. But the Storm was set to honour Cameron Smith and Billy Slater with a statue outside of Amy Park. Not mentioned in this statue was, of course, Cooper Cronk, who was 1/3 of the big three there, and the reason they've been so successful. Now, this either, for me, is set to occur later, at a later date, maybe once Cameron Smith retires, or they're a little bit dirty after the grand final, and it was one of those sort of dirtbag headlines. So I'm not really sure or can't ascertain which one at this stage. So we'll go put that one down as a miss. Trent Robertson was rumoured to have given his grand final ring to Lindsay Collins. He was the 18th man for the grand final, and that proved true. So that's a hit for me. This one here is 50-50. So as this offseason went on, we were hearing Dylan Napa would depart the Sydney Roosters and they would use that money to sign Martin Tapau. Obviously, Napa did depart the club, but obviously Dylan Napa did depart the Sydney Roosters, but Martin Tapau never arrived. So that's a hit and a miss there. Next, we've got the Tigers looking to lure Wayne Bennett. Not sure there was ever any truth around this one, guys. It's a little bit of a strange one. I put it up because, you know, it could have happened given what was happening at the Broncos at the time, but it ended up going down as a miss. Next, we go to October 2018, and there's 4 hits here, guys, so bear with me while I go through my notes. Kurt Mann to the Newcastle Knights. That obviously proved true. Nene McDonald to the Cowboys. We had Tyrell Fuimaonu to the Panthers, and the Dragons were interested in Corey Norman, which obviously eventually played out as well. Just to say again, that was in October of 2018, so that's 4 big hits there. Our next one... Actually, I've just seen a 5th hit there. Jonas Pearson to the Dragons. I also reported that in October, so that's another hit. Next was Seabold was set to strip Greg Inglis off the captaincy at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. This is a miss, but it's a little bit of an unfortunate miss for me because obviously he did end up departing the club, so we never got to see whether this rumour played out. But for fairness and accuracy, I'll give myself a miss. Our next rumour this off-season, Jason Taylor to coach the Manly Sea Eagles. Obviously, Trent Barrett wanted out. Jason Taylor has coached NRL before, so he threw his name in the hat. However, he is now coaching the North Sydney Bears, so that's a miss for me. Our next one is a hit. So the Knights were set to lose Ken Seo. I was reporting that, you know, despite being the top try scorer from last year, his future was in doubt with the club, and they may not have re-signed him. That obviously proved true. He signed a 3-year deal with Salford Reds in the Super League. Next one is a miss for me. Broncos were reportedly monitoring the situation with Daly Cherry Evans at Manly. At the time, Wayne Bennett didn't view Nikorima as a long-term halfback for himself, And Daly Cherry Evans had publicly said, if Neil Henry is signed as the Sea Eagles coach, I'm looking to move on. So I factored in those two together and thought that's a genuine chance. Didn't end up playing up as so that's a miss. And next one, the rumour came up. Obviously, this was everyone throwing the hat in the mix, but Des Hasler to coach Manly. Obviously, we know that ended up being a hit. Next rumour was a quite simple one. Paul Gallen to play on. He re-signed for a further year. That's a hit. Next one was a 50-50. It's a hit and a miss in this one. So I was reporting that the Gold Coast Titans were set to lose Conrad Hurrell, and they would sign Jordan Kahu as his replacement. Obviously, Hurrell did depart the club for Super League side Leeds Rhinos, but Jordan Kahu has now signed with the Cowboys, so that's a hit and a miss. Our next one, Eels Manly to do a trade with Mitchell Moses and Daly Cherry Evans. I did report on this because, again, I thought it was a chance. At the time, Corey Norman was still with the Eels, and they were either looking to move on Mitchell Moses or Corey Norman. Then we moved to the Sea Eagles. Obviously, as I said before, Daly Cherry Evans had said, if Neil Henry signs here, I want to go. So it did have some validity at the time. Looking back on it now, it was pretty unlikely to happen, and we can put that one down as a miss. Next, we have the Warriors looking to move on Shaun Johnson. We all know that's a hit. Next, we have Cameron Munster looking to re-sign with the Storm. We know that's a hit. Next, we have the Warriors look to Corey Norman and Mitchell Moses as a replacement if Shaun Johnson was to leave. That was an interesting one, and again, it was pretty valid. It definitely could have occurred. Corey Norman and Mitchell Moses, as we both know, were wanting to be moved on by the Eels. So much so, Mitchell Moses cancelled his overseas holidays to Las Vegas to continue training. So that one there is a miss, but again, it did have a lot of validity behind it. Des Hasler wants Kieran Foran back. Now, I know that's true. It didn't end up playing out. Manly currently have a salary cap penalty imposed from the NRL due to breaches in the past. So they don't have much wriggle room at all. And he was unable to bring Foran back with him. So that one is a miss. Trent Merrin to Leeds Rhinos. That one is a hit, but here's an awkward story, guys. I was doing a story Q&A. If you guys have followed my Instagram for a while, you know I used to do those twice a week. Someone asked a question, why did Trent Merrin not end up going to Leeds? And I literally recorded myself going, in the end, I don't think, this move was too much for Trent, etc. And then as soon as I closed that, I practically got a message from someone saying Trent Merrin has just signed. So I quickly deleted it so I didn't look like an idiot. But yeah, that's a miss. David Clemmer to the Knights. We know that's a big hit. This one here was interesting. So the rumor went, if Wayne Bennett departs the Brisbane Broncos, James Roberts would look to go back to the Gold Coast Titans. Now, obviously, he left the Titans to join Bennett at the Broncos, and part of this rumor was that he's a huge fan of Wayne Bennett. That's the only reason he went to the Broncos. We know he's happy in Southeast Queensland, and he's not wanting to return to New South Wales. So there was a lot of evidence behind this rumor, but it goes down as a miss. Jared Hayne to the West Tigers. The Tigers confirmed we've got the salary cap space. I thought that's a weird statement for a CEO to make unless there is some genuine interest. Obviously, we know this one's a miss because some serious allegations came out against Hayne shortly afterwards. Alex Johnston to leave the Rabbitohs. This one here is another miss, but again, it was looking very likely. As soon as Wayne Bennett arrived to the club, he reportedly told Johnston, you're going to be on the wing, and he wasn't happy with that. He was looking to go to the Sharks because they'd obviously recently lost Valentine Holmes, or the rumour was looking like Holmes was set to go, but that didn't end up playing out, so that's a miss. Valentine Holmes to the Cowboys from 2020. We just touched on him then. This one's a miss, but to be honest, no one can blame me here. No one saw him signing for the NFL. It came as a bit of a shock to us all, but regardless, it's a miss for Clarkie. Shaun Johnson to the Raiders. Another CEO and coach talking about how great it would be to have Shaun Johnson at the club. And again, I thought that's a little bit strange. Why are they mentioning that unless there is some factualness behind this? Factualness, is that a word? Not sure. But as it turned out, that's a miss. Brian Kelly to the Gold Coast Titans from 2019, guys. We know that's a hit. Nathan Ross to leave the Newcastle Knights. Now, this obviously hasn't happened. I was one of the only news stations reporting this otherwise. Obviously, I have a very strong source on this one, guys, and I know Nathan Ross will not be leaving the Knights. If you go to his Q&A he did on my page, he was the first player to ever do a Q&A. He essentially states that he's not looking to leave Newcastle no matter what. So many times this offseason it keeps popping up, and people are, you know, reposting it, reporting it, but I was the only one saying he'll remain a Knight. So that's a hit for me and a miss for everyone else. Tane Milne was rumoured with a move to the New Zealand Warriors. This proved true. Great signing, great depth. Jesse Ramian to the Bulldogs. Now, this one was reported by Channel 9, and I came out straight away and said this is false. Part of the reason he moved to the Newcastle Knights, guys, was to be closer to his young daughter. So I reported otherwise, different to mainstream news services. That's a hit for me and a miss for them. Kenny Edwards to the Storm or Sea Eagles. Now, this one is a miss, but I do have a very solid source behind this one. Also, what essentially ended up happening, the NRL Integrity Unit did not clear Kenny Edwards for a return for pre-season, so he's decided to stay with the Catalans Dragons. Ultimately, that goes down as a miss. Jerome Luai to re-sign with the Penrith Panthers. We know that occurred. That's a hit. Burgess Boys to the Bulldogs. Now, I straight away called this one out and said I highly doubt that's going to happen. Again, mainstream news services were reporting that will occur, but I knew for a fact the Bulldogs did not have the salary cap room to sign Tom and George Burgess, so that's a hit for me. James Gavet to the Newcastle Knights. This is obviously a great signing for the Knights, and a hit for me. Maloney to the Eels from 2020. Now, I'm not going to hit any sound here, guys, because I have heard this will occur, and we're still waiting to see whether it plays out. My evidence behind this one, guys, essentially, James Maloney had an injury-riddled year in 2018, and the Parramatta Eels were looking to move on Mitchell Moses and Corey Norman. Dependent on what we know with the Eels, Mitchell Moses is only signed to this year, and he may be moved on if he does not perform well. With the Parramatta Eels, there's about 8 other players they're looking to move on if they do not perform well. Ultimately, if Mitchell Moses or any of those players are moved on, that opens up the Eels with a lot of salary cap room to sign James Maloney from the Panthers. He is signed until 2020. However, as we just touched on, they have locked up young gun Jerome Luai long term. So Maloney is a loss for the Panthers short term, but long term it's not. And for that reason, I believe Gus Gould would be inclined to release him. So we're going to have to wait to see how that one plays out, guys. I'm not going to hit or miss just yet. Our next one, Luke Brooks was set to re-sign with the West Tigers. That's a hit there. Hymel Hunt to the Newcastle Knights. That's a hit. The NRL to stamp out the coach merry-go-round. So what was happened here, guys? The rumor was if a coach, or the NRL was set to impose a new rule set where if you sign for a rival club as a head coach with more than 1 year remaining on your deal, you will be fined a percentage of that salary. Obviously, that never went ahead. I'm not sure whether it's still being looked at and pursued by the NRL or it was all talk and never going to occur. Regardless, and unfortunately for myself, that's another miss. Matt Duff did to the Canberra Raiders. This one had a little bit of validity there. Obviously, Jack Whiten had a court case upcoming. We were not certain how that would go. So for that reason, I did put up the rumour because it did make sense. Didn't play out. He's re-signed with the Dragons. Josh Maguire to the North Queensland Cowboys. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a tick. Dylan Napa to the Bulldogs. Jacob Liddell to the Bulldogs. Obviously, under Ivan Cleary, Jacob Liddell was looked at. Wasn't played too much. He was injured also, but he wasn't too favourable with that coach. Incoming coach Michael Maguire is a big fan of Jacob Liddell, and he's had him mentored by Robbie Farah all off season, so he's going to remain a Tiger now. This one's interesting. It's a miss for now. The Storm were rumoured to have had to shed Sam Cassiano, Patrick Garfusi, or Chase Blair to re-sign Cameron Smith. Now, they've obviously re-signed Cameron Smith, but all three are at the club. However, rumours have now come out that the Melbourne Storm are under extreme salary cap pressure, and one of those 3 men need to go. Now, for me, it's a little bit hard giving myself a miss here, because it is looking like one of them will have to go, but at this present moment, all 3 are still contracted to the Storm, so it goes down as a miss for now. Valentine Holmes to the NFL shocked us all, but that rumor was pretty strong. That's not the sort of rumor that pops up overnight as being false. It'd be quite, it'd be like, Paul Gallen is set to sign with the NHL Hockey League. You don't really make those sort of rumors up. So that was pretty easy one for me to put up, and it's a hit. Next, we have Danny Levi to the Eels or Tigers. This one did make sense. He was a little bit disgruntled at the Knights reportedly. Tigers, at this stage, it wasn't confirmed Jacob Liddell would remain there. And the Eels, there's still a big question mark next to Kaiser Pritchard, and obviously whether Marnie is an 80-minute player. So it made sense, but he's going to remain with the Knights. It's a miss. Sean Johnson to the Sharkies. Zane Musgrove to the Tigers. Luke Brooks to the Warriors. Now, I've gone ahead and pressed a miss there. But guys, I can confirm there was some real validity behind this report. His manager was in talk with the Warriors, and it did have the potential to go ahead. Ultimately, it didn't. He re-signed with the Tigers, but it was certainly an interesting one to monitor. Gareth Widdop to depart the Dragons. That's been touched on a lot. I won't talk too much on it. We know it's a hit. Cook to the Knights. Now, Fox Sports were reporting this would occur. James Hooper in particular. I said that's rubbish. He'll re-sign with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. That's what my mail indicated. So it's a hit for me. Carney to the Warriors. This was reported by a couple news stations. Carney actually commented on the photo when I put up saying I don't think this will happen. Carney commented pretty much confirming it was rubbish. So that made my job easy and give me a hit. Next, we have Wade Graham being looked at by the West Tigers. I'm not sure whether this was true or not. Obviously, they had bigger fish to fry with Ivan Cleary looking to leave the club and Mike Maguire incoming. Wade Graham since re-signed with the Sharks, so that's a miss. Martin Tapau to the Sydney Roosters. That obviously didn't occur. However, I was reporting that. I sort of knew that was rubbish, and I did have from my Manly source that he'd confirmed to Des Hasler, I want to be a leader within this club and I want to remain at this club. Fast forward a couple months, he's actually come out publicly and said that now, so that's a hit for me. Mitchell Moses to the Brisbane Broncos with Cody Nikorima to the New Zealand Warriors. Really interesting one. Did have some evidence behind it, but ultimately it didn't play out. That's a miss. Tommy Makinson to the Newcastle Knights. He was on holidays within the Newcastle region, but obviously he was just there for a holiday and nothing further played out. If you guys are wondering where that rumour came from, he was coached by Newcastle coach Nathan Brown during his time at St. Helens. So there was the chance they were looking to link up again. It didn't occur. Unfortunately, that's another miss. James Seguiaro to the Newcastle Knights. We know that's a miss. He's still currently working in a coffee shop. And next is Nathan Ross to the Super League. This was an easy one for me, guys. As I touched on before, I knew that wasn't going to happen, and I reported otherwise. So it's a hit for me. Trent Barrett to the Sharks. That's a miss, but it's an unfortunate one. It did make a lot of sense at the time. There was a big question mark next to the Sharks and Shane Flanagan. Obviously, the most experienced NRL coach available at that time was either Jeff Tuvey, who we know is Manly through and through, or Trent Barrett. Ultimately, though, it goes down as a miss. Liam Knight to sign with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. That has happened. Richie Kenner to sign with the Broncos. Cameron King to the Featherstone Rovers. Brandon Smith to leave the Storm following Cameron Smith's re-signing. Guys, everyone, Channel 9, Fox Sports, Channel 7, you name them, they were reporting that's what's going to happen. However, it was no secret. I can actually reveal this on camera, guys. I have a pretty good relationship with Brandon Smith in terms of, getting replies on stories, etc. He said to me, look, mate, I want you to put up. It's not true. I want to remain at Melbourne Storm. If anything, I just view this as an opportunity to learn more from Cameron. So that's a hit for me, and one I'm pretty proud of because obviously I am relatively small in the terms of media things because I'm independent. But yeah, really proud moment, I suppose. So hit for me. Chance Nickel-Klogstad to the Canberra Raiders. Now, initially, I put up this rumour and again, I had a very good source saying it won't happen yet, but it's being looked at. It did end up occurring, so that's a hit for me. Jason Taumalolo to play Queensland in State of Origin. Play for Queensland State of Origin. This is a bit of a weird one. It didn't end up happening. I don't know whether it's still being looked at by the NRL, but I believe it's been stamped out as not going to occur, so that's a miss. George Burgess to the Broncos. That's a miss, but I mean, realistically, it could still play out. However, if I had to tip a club for George to sign with, if it's not the Rabbitohs, I'm going to tip he's going to he's going to sign with the Parramatta Eels, but that's a miss. Blake Brayley to the Eels. Now, I reported this was not going to occur, guys. It's a silly one. They didn't re-sign James Seguiaro for a reason, because they believe in Blake Brayley and they want to give him a chance. So that's a hit for me. Tom Amoni signs with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. That's another hit for me. Jack White to play 5'8". That has since been confirmed. That's a hit for me. Jordan Kahu to the Cowboys. Wade Egan re-signs with the Panthers. I just confirmed this one before recording this video, guys, and that's another hit. Currently, I've got two outstanding rumours for you guys. Robert Jennings to the West Tigers. I believe this will go ahead. The NRL have given the Tigers the green light to negotiate a contract with him. I just think he's trained and sat with the South Sydney Rabbitohs for a bit too long now to not have a contract there. There's something funny going on. I see Robert Jennings wearing a Tigers uniform in 2019. And Ethan Lowe to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Another rumour I'm fairly sure is set to play out probably by the end of this week. So I won't say hit or miss for those ones, guys. We'll have to wait and see. But as for that, guys, here's, as you can see, I had 2 entire pages worth of rumours to go over. So a little bit of a longer video. But yeah, 49 out of 76 rumours. And when I say rumours, guys, obviously there was no official word at the time of me reporting them. Ended up being true. 27, not so much. But a lot of those, as I explained, there was pretty genuine cause as to why I was reporting that. So, you know, I just thought I'd make this video, guys, because I do get, I would say, a fair bit of hate when putting up rumours from people that don't want to believe it's true, etc. And I want to be honest with you guys and give you guys the best product always. So I feel like me coming on here, being honest with you guys, the ones I stuffed up, and also mentioning the ones that I got correct in the process, is the right thing to do by my followers and the fans that follow my column. It's something I wish Fox Sports, Channel 9, etc. would do. It would be able, you know, it would allow us to be able to keep them accountable. Because the amount of times they post absolute crap, there's no repercussions, and a month later, we all forget they ever posted it, but it's too late. They've already posted the crap article. Tens of thousands of us have already clicked on and given them their money. They're off sipping a vanilla latte at a cafe with our, you know, with money they earned from a false headline. So it would be good to see them held accountable. But guys, I want to be honest with you guys always, as I said, and keep it 100% with you all. And that's what I feel this video does. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another YouTube video. My name's Dane from Clarkie's NRL column. Take it easy. Have a good one. I'll see you guys soon.